So chapter 4, our topics is ITIL Service Value System. So this section is going to discuss Service Value Systems overview, opportunity, demand, and value, ITIL Guiding Principle, and part of this one we have focus on value, start where you are, progress iteratively with feedback, collaborate and promote visibility, think and work holistically, keep it simple and practical, optimize and automate, principal iterations. So they are the guiding principles. These topics we're going to discuss now. And also governance, part of the governance, we have governing bodies and governance. Governance in this SBS, we're going to discuss this part. Now service value chain, part of this one we're going to discuss plan, improve, engage, design and transition, obtain, build, deliver and support. Continual improvement, steps of the continual improvement model, continual improvement and the guiding principles, practices and summary. So these are the contents we have in these sections. This is ITIL Service Value System. So this is one of the major parts from our framework. This is one of the core systems we have in our framework, which is ITIL Service Value System. The ITIL Service Value Systems overview. The ITIL SBS describes how all the components and activities of the organization work together as a system to enable value creation. Each organization's SBS has interfaces with other organizations, forming an ecosystems that can in turn facilitate value for those organizations, their customers, and other stakeholders. The key input to the SBS are opportunity and demand. In our service value systems, we always have opportunities and demand. What is opportunities? Opportunities represent options or possibilities to add value for stakeholder or otherwise improve the organizations. So opportunity means, let's say you received one query or fault around your services from the customers. So that means customer has some demand. Customer may want to fix something. So that means you have opportunities to fix that issues and you can create some value with that as well. And demand is the need or desire for the products and services among internal and external consumers. Demand means customer want to purchase something or customer may have some faults. They want to fix their faults. The outcome of the SBS is value, that is the perceived benefits, usefulness, and importance of something. So our SBS or service value systems, its main outcome is value. So this is in details. The ITIL Service Value System includes the following components: guiding principles, governance, service value chain, practices, and continual improvement. Guiding principle means it's recommendations that can guide an organization in all circumstances, regardless of changes in its goals, strategies, type of work, or management structure. So it will provide some guidance to the organizations. Governance, the means by which an organization is directed and controlled. Service value chain, a set of interconnected activities that an organization performs to deliver a valuable product or service to its customers and to facilitate value realizations. So this is service value chain. Practices. Practices is a set of organizational resources designed for performing work or accomplishing an objectives. Continual improvement. A recurring organizational activity performed at all levels to ensure that an organization's performance continually meets stakeholders' expectations. So this is continual improvement. So all these 5 things, they're part of our SVS. So this is the graphical pictures we have. Once we have opportunity and demand, we can use this SBS, which contain these guiding principles, governance, service value systems, practices, and continual improvement. Once you apply these 5 components, we'll be able to create value. So this is ITIL Service Value System. So opportunity and demand always will have in the company, and we can use this SVS. And once you got opportunity and demand, we'll be able to create value. So in this chapter 4, we're going to discuss guiding principles, governance, service value chain, and continual improvement. And in chapter 5, we're going to discuss only practices. Now, opportunity, demand, and value. The purpose, opportunity, and demand trigger activities within the ITIL SBS, and these activities lead to the creations of value. Opportunity and demand are always entering in the system, but the organizations does not automatically accept all opportunities or satisfy all demand. So opportunity represents options or possibilities to add value for stakeholders. So organizations should prioritize new or changed services with opportunities for improvement to ensure their resources are correctly allocated. Demand represents the need or desire for products and services from internal and external customers. Right, so this is the informations about opportunity, demand, and value. So they are all interrelated and they are part of our service value system. Now we're going to discuss each of the components individually. So first component, we're going to discuss guiding principles. The ITIL guiding principles. The purposes of these guiding principles. A guiding principle is a recommendation that guides an organization in all circumstances, regardless of changes in its goals, strategies, type of work, or management structure. A guiding principle is universal and enduring. So that means guiding principles you can apply anywhere, pretty much any sort of circumstances, you'll be able to apply these guiding principles. So this is the guiding principles elements we have. Focus on value, start where you are, progress iteratively with feedback, collaborate and promote visibility, think and work holistically, keep it simple and practical, optimize and automate, principal iterations. All these things, they're part of our guiding principles. Now we're going to discuss in details about these guiding principles. So first one, focus on value. Purpose is all activities by the organizations should link back directly or indirectly to value for itself, its customers, or other stakeholders. So anything we do in the organizations, so it should create value for the organizations or for stakeholders or for customers. This value may come in different forms such as revenue, customer loyalty, lower cost, or growth opportunities. So value you can measure in different way. Maybe your company looking for revenue, or maybe customer satisfactions, or maybe cost, or growth opportunities. So these are the different kind of value maybe your company looking for, or the stakeholders they are looking for this kind of values. Now part of this one, focus on value. Part of this one we have purpose, who is the service consumer, and the consumer's perspectives of value, and the customer experience, and finally how we're going to apply this principle. So these are the 4 sections we have under this focus on value. So this is the purpose. Let's have a look what else we have. Now, who is the service consumer? When focusing on value, the first step is to know who is being served. The service provider must determine who the service consumer is and who the key stakeholders are. For example, customers, users, or sponsors. The service provider should consider who will receive value from what is being delivered or improved. So first thing is, who is the service consumer? That means what kind of consumers or stakeholders we have. We need to understand that it could be customers, it could be users, it could be sponsor, and what kind of value they are looking for. Now the consumer's perspectives of value. The service provider must understand what is truly of value to the service consumer. The service provider needs to know why the consumer uses the services, how the services help them achieve their goals, the role of cost and financial consequences for the service consumer, the risk involved for the service consumer. So these are the steps we need to know. So value can come in many forms, such as increased productivity. That is one kind of value. Reduced negative impact, that's also value. Reduced cost, the ability to pursue new markets, or a better competitive positions. They are all the elements is part of this value. If you reduce the negative impact when you're supporting your customers and staffs, that's also creating value. Or reduce cost, that's also in this way you can create value for your customers. Maybe your customers spending a lot of money in a particular applications or sites or hardware or maintenance. Maybe you work out and reduce the cost for them. So that could also create value for them. So value for the service consumer is defined by their own needs, is achieved through the support of intended outcomes and optimizations of the service consumers, cost and risk, and is changed over the time and in different circumstances. So always you need to remember, value means value is related with customer outcomes, like what customer wants. What is not service provider wants is more on what is the outcome customer want to achieve. So if you can provide that, that means you're creating value for them. But this value systems, it's related with cost and risk, and over the time, these definitions of value can change as well. Now, another thing, we have customer experience and user experience. This can be defined as the entirety of the interactions a customer has with an organization and its product. So this experience can determine how the customers feel about the organizations and its product and services. Right? This These things you can see these days, majority of the businesses, they're using this, customer experience and user experience, this concept. Always they, ask some questionnaires, or they want to get some feedback from the consumer and then see what they think about the services. Because in this way, they can understand about customer experience and user experience. But both of them are important. Remember, customer means the people who define the requirements, but user is the people who are using those services. So let's say customer is happy with pricing, demand and all these things, but at the end we also need to check whether user also happy or not. So customer experience is both objectives and subjectives. For example, when a customer orders a product and receives what they ordered at the promised price and in the promised delivery time, the success of these aspects of their experience is objectively measurable. On the other hand, if they don't like the style or layout of the website they are ordering from, this is subjective. Another customer might really enjoy the design. So one customer like the website, another customer don't like the website, but website actually you can order, you can purchase everything. So one is subjectives, one is like objectives. So customer may have view in different ways. Now once you got all these steps, then finally how to apply this principle. To apply this principle successfully, consider this advice. Know how service consumers use each services. Encourage a focus on value among all staff. Focus on value during normal operational activity as well as during improvement initiatives. Include focus on value in every step of any improvement initiatives. So these are the way we can apply this principle. So this is the guidelines or part of the guiding principles. We have focus on value, and by following all these steps, we can apply these principles in the company. Now, second guiding principle, this is start where you are. The purpose of this one, in the process of services and creating something better, there can be great temptations to remove what has been done in the past and build something completely new. This approach can be extremely wasted, not only in terms of time, but also in terms of loss of existing services, processes, people, and tools that could have significant value in the improvement effort. It's saying that many different scenarios in the organizations, especially when you building any, building any software, or you're working in software development areas, or maybe you're fixing some customer issues. So always we'd like to create something better, and part of that we may remove what we have and then we start from the beginning.
Sure.
In some cases maybe this is okay, but ITIL says at first we should consider what we have, and based on that we should move forward. We should not remove everything and start from the beginning, because some cases it may, you may lose some time, you may waste some time, because maybe your colleague or some other people, they have done many steps already. So if you consider these steps and move forward, then it's good. Other than that, you may lose a lot of times, maybe a lot of processes will not work, and overall that's not recommended. So that's why they're saying do not start over without first considering what is already available to be leveraged. That means always we need to check what we have, and based on that we can do some more steps. Now assess where you are. Services and methods already in place should be measured and or observed directly, or properly understand their current state and what can be reused from them. So that means measurement is important, and see What can be used again? What can be reused? Getting data from the source helps to avoid assumptions. Also, assumption is not good. We should get proper data, and we can get proper information from those data. It can sometimes be beneficial for a person with little or no prior knowledge of the service to be part of the observation, as they have no preconceptions of the service and may spot things that those more closely involved with it would miss. So in this way, if a person has a little knowledge, or if a person don't know the entire things, by assessing all these steps and getting proper data, that person can get valuable informations. After that, measurement. The role of measurement. Organizations should consider a variety of techniques to develop knowledge of the environments in which they work, such as direct observation should always be the preferred options. So observations is important. And the act of measuring can sometimes affect the results, making them inaccurate. Sometimes how you measure this also can affect the results. For example, if a service desk knows it is being monitored on the length of time spent on the phone, it might focus too much on minimizing customer engagement rather than actually helping users resolve issues to their satisfaction. But sometimes it's happened. So if you monitor some service desk people, maybe in this way, they will try to fix their issues, or they'll try to minimize the conversations and try to complete the task as soon as possible. That kind of things happen, then that may have some negative impacts. So you need to consider that measurement areas as well. Like how we're going to measure, that's also you need to consider. Now, once you got all these steps, how to apply this principle? To apply this principle successfully, consider this advice. Look at what exists as objectively as possible, using the customer or the desired outcome as the starting point. And are the elements of the current state fit for purpose or fit for use? So when you do assessment or measurement, that time you check what you have, and those things you can use again or not. When examples of successful practices or services are found in the current state, determine if and how this can be replicated or expanded upon to achieve the desired state. Recognize that sometimes nothing from the current state can be reused. Sometimes current state can be reused as well. Sometimes nothing can be reused. That's also true. Maybe every time this guiding principles, this one especially, it doesn't apply everywhere. Sometimes if you check what other people done and stuff, maybe that will not be helpful. It just helps as an advice that do not start over without first considering what is already available for you. The third one, this is another guiding principles. Progress iteratively with feedback. This is another guiding principle. Purpose of this one, resist the temptations to do everything at once. Even huge initiatives must be accomplished iteratively. By organizing work into smaller, manageable sections that can be executed and completed in a timely manner. So that means instead of fixing everything at once, maybe we can do iteratively. Iteratively means part by part. Maybe you do one part, and once completed, then you start the second part and then third part. Mostly this kind of iterations used in the software development areas. The focus on each effort will be sharper and easier to maintain. Now, improvement iterations can be sequential or simultaneous. So these iterations can be sequential or simultaneous. Each individual iteration should be both manageable and managed. The overall initiative or program, as well as its component iterations, must be continually re-evaluated and potentially revised and ensure that the focus on value has not been lost. So when you do these steps, we need to ensure that focus on value has not been lost. So part of this one, progress iteratively with feedback, we have another sections called the role of feedback, iterations and feedback together, and finally, how to apply this principle. Now, the role of feedback. A feedback loop is a term commonly used to refer to a situations where part of the output of an activity is used for new input. That's a feedback loops. You get the result, measure that one, and after that you move to next one. In a well-functioning organization, feedback is actively collected and processed along the value chain. So always in a well-functioning organizations, always feedback will be there in every layer. When you interact with customers, it could be in the sales areas. Later on, these days, every ticket we solve, at the end of the ticket, customer gets some notifications to provide some feedback around that. So that's happening in majority of the cases. Well-constructed feedback mechanisms facilitate understanding of end user and customers' perceptions of the value created. The efficiency and effectiveness of value chain activities. The effectiveness of service governance as well as management controls. The interfaces between the organizations and its partner and supplier network. The demand for product and services. So feedback mechanism, they should have all these informations. Now, iterations and feedback together, how they functions. Working in a time-boxed, iterative manner with feedback loops embedded into the process allows for greater flexibility. So if you have proper iterations and feedback, then in this way, you can get a lot of benefits. It's flexible, you get faster response to customers and business needs. The ability to discover and respond to a failure earlier. Right? Maybe by having proper feedback, you understand what need to change. So if you change that one, then next time when customer is getting that services, they will not have that issues which already you fixed. And overall improvement in quality. So if you have a proper feedbacks, so we can get all these advantages. Having appropriate feedback loops between the participants of an activity gives them a better understanding of where their work comes from, where their output will go, and how their actions and outputs affect the outcomes, which in turn enables them to make better decisions. Now, once you got all these informations, how to apply this one successfully, you need to consider this advice. Comprehend the whole, but do something. So you need to do everything, but you need to do at first something, and that's how you move forward. The ecosystem is constantly changing, so feedback is essential. That means you're providing some services today, and over the time, maybe other competitors, they're providing similar services. So if you'd like to get a quick feedback, if you need to understand the change and all these steps, feedback is very important. And first does not mean incomplete. You can do, faster, but need to do in such a way that it can fulfill the customer requirements.